Okay, it says you are live.
Very good. All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next, we are going to take a look at the approval of the June 6, 2022 minutes. If everyone's had a chance to review them, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion for approval for the June 6th meeting.
Thank you, Donna. A second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. As I'm looking, I probably should put on the record that Fred is necessarily absent. He might join us a bit later. All right. So we have a continuation of the auction direct variance to allow parking within the 80-foot front setback. The applicant's ready and with us here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So just as a quick review, the Ontario County Planning Board had no comments for us and indicated that we certainly can decide as we see fit. We had some homework on our end, some other variances that were granted in the past. Van Bortle had, looks like 4 of them, dating back to 1986, ranging from 80 foot to 50 feet, then in 99, 50 feet to 40, 2007, 80 feet to 40, and then in 2022, 80 feet to 40. Van Bortle Ford, if I didn't say it earlier, it was Van Bortle Subaru. Van Bortle Ford back in 2007 was 80 to 35 feet, but I think it's important to note that is on the would be the west side of Victor, so it's still applicable, but Subaru I think has more applicability to it. Also, Victor Auto Group 2014, 80 feet to 35 feet. Victor Jeep in 2020, 80 feet to 41.5. And the applicant is looking for 80 feet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that it's going to range, you need about 2 to 6 feet over the 80-foot front. No, there's more than 80-foot frontage. But anyway, 80 feet to would then mean 78 feet to 74 feet. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, that's that right. Yes, sir.
Okay. And we asked for some homework from you, looking for some kind of diagram demonstrating what that parking looked like. So I think one of the concerns the board had was that whether or not there was going to be sufficient room for emergency vehicles to get, if you will, a drive-by or pass through the parking. Were you able to do that?
Well, so yes and no. I've re-engaged McFarland Johnson, and they are in the process of re-diagramming the whole area for us. They're backed up like everybody else is in the world, but they're moving as fast as they can to redo the diagram. I've asked them to include examples of parking and really diagram it out as far as spacing as well. So as soon as I get that, I will email it over to Amber the second I get it from them.
So let me ask you this: the spacing, as I'm looking at an aerial, there is currently a row of cars, 2 rows of cars, and then there is spacing into the next row. Do you have any idea what the spacing is between those 2 parking spaces? There, that's the part I'm looking at.
I honestly don't know. I'd have to physically be there. I don't want to guesstimate because I've never been asked that before, so I don't know.
Okay, so I think that's what, at least my concern, and we can certainly touch base with all the other board members, that that appears to be a sufficient and safe distance between the vehicles to allow, and I think the purpose is to allow emergency vehicles um, to go back and forth or to get in there without issue. Would that be possible with, if the variance, should it be granted, to have similar spacing in between the proposed expansion area and then the next row of cars?
Well, that's what, when we walked it out, ourselves, I mean, we obviously took that into account. And, you guys look at emergency vehicles, rightfully so. We also look at, the ability for these cars to be parked, pull in and out of their parking spaces without hitting other cars. And, we feel confident that once the land is paved and the space is there, we'll be able to show you before then that we should have ample spacing between the rows.
Okay, so let me then go to other board members and see what their concerns and questions are. Matt, questions, comments, concerns?
No, I'm okay. And what I was looking for from the last meeting and what you read out to begin with, because I recalled others really being in that 40-foot range. And obviously we're not really approaching that with what the applicant is asking for here. Obviously if he had the data that kind of said, yes, they're going to be this far apart and that is what we need for emergency vehicles. Again, even if, in my opinion, if that number even pushed the variance out a foot or two, I'd be willing to support that as well. I just, to your point, want to make sure that this doesn't go through, that if this goes through, that the applicant has to come back in here in front of us because, there just isn't enough space. So I'd like to try to get it done right the first time. Is my opinion on it.
So would you prefer to have that diagram before us before we make a decision, or are you ready today?
I could be, if the applicant doesn't have, and I could ask specifically, I mean, if he's under a time crunch and I can make a decision today on it, and I would be in favor for it. If there isn't the time crunch, it would be great to see it. But
Okay. Sarah, questions, concerns, comments?
No, I have nothing else.
Donna?
I have one question about the trees in the front or the shrubs and stuff. Is that going to be gone from there, or it looks like you're going to have to, on that one end part, take some of that?
No, I don't think we're not planning on touching any of the shrubbery. And if we did have to pull something up, we use Country Care as a landscaper. If we had to pull something up, I would replant it right 5 feet over. I would never discard any of the work up front for sure.
Okay, thank
But
you.
I don't think I don't see where we would have to move any. We looked at that. I mean, I don't think that would be an issue.
Because I don't know when that picture was that you are showing us was taken, but when I looked at it, those shrubs are pretty big. It looks like it would be kind of like part of them on the east end where you're adding it on, looks like, but I may be wrong too, so that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Fred, question, concerns, comments? We may have lost Fred. Okay. Adam, let me ask you on what's your comfort
Am I
level?
on?
Fred, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello?
Fred?
Hello?
I can hear you, Fred.
I don't have,
Okay, some technical difficulties with Fred. So let's hold for Fred for a moment. So Adam, the concerns that I think are on board, at least that I've raised, any thoughts on that, on safety issues, on allowing emergency vehicles, or providing for that enough space for emergency vehicles to get through? And seeing really what his plan is on how much room he really needs. And I know that there's 2 rows of cars, and I don't know what to call it other than stacking the vehicles or piggybacking the vehicles. And if he does that, there still appears to be enough space for those emergency vehicles, plows, whatever they particularly need. But I think more so with emergency vehicles. Any concerns with that?
I mean, I agree with what you are saying. It looks like, I don't know if we could get that image back up. But it looks like if he was to adjust the cars that are all the way to the street now, let's call it the south, that front row of cars that are slightly angly, parked. If he was to shift those cars backwards, he's going to be blocking this turnaround that's to the east here, at the side of the parking lot. So I'm not sure, Mr. Friedman, in this yellow area, are you looking to put a second row of cars and leave the existing row of cars directly behind it, kind of like the middle section behind it? Or are you planning on shifting the existing row of cars to the north and providing space in between that row and the row that will now exist in your new paved area? Does that make sense?
Right. Well, yeah. What our intentions are is to park a row of cars, in that yellow area, and then have that. We cannot have the cars, fender to bumper kind of thing. They need space in themselves. So whether we pull back that other row, or if we're able to get the gentleman's name that said maybe we get a couple extra feet to ensure that's not a concern, if we can push the rows up 2 or 3 feet to make sure that's not a concern, and then we're able to push that existing row back a foot or 2, we'll have more than ample space to accommodate any kind of vehicle going through there at that point.
Yeah, so that's all I could see, or the only concern I would have is if you're from a safety, from emergency vehicle access point, there's that turnaround at the side of the parking lot. And if you were to shift this row of cars that's angled to the north, you'd be obstructing that turnaround. So, that would be my only concern.
Yeah, I hear you.
Am I hooked?
So Adam, on the turnaround concern, is that an issue more for planning? When they look at a site plan on where the cars are going to be, is that a planning department approval or denial?
Yes, it would be the planning department, but from approving the variance standpoint, it may behoove the applicant to request more space, a greater reduction in the setback to accommodate for anything that may infringe upon that access.
Well, let me ask it this way. Would it be a code violation for really what you described if those the vehicles that are currently depicted in the photograph, if they were to move however many feet to the north and allow spacing for the new area, the proposed expansion area, thereby blocking that turnaround, would that be a code violation?
I'd have to look into it further.
And it definitely looks like it's a car length short. If I'm just looking at it here with the photo that we've got, unless you're going to park those cars, bumper to bumper, like you said, you don't want to do. The only thing you can do, to Adam's point, is shift those cars up by at least a car length if you're going to want to be able to get cars in and out of there. So it is a little confusing to figure out how it's really going to work if you really don't want those cars bumper to bumper there.
My concern is that if we grant the variance today for what he's asking for, and then however he parks the cars, Adam or another one of our code enforcement officer goes out there and looks at it and says, you can't do it this way. It's a code violation. And now he's got to go back and do this all over again. That seems to be an inefficient use of
Yeah,
everybody's time.
I'm with you. I was of the mindset that he's probably going to have to park them bumper to bumper and not take up much of that lane. But if he doesn't want to park them bumper to bumper, I don't see any other. And to your point, that question you asked Adam, and I think he said he just needs to do a little more research. If it is a code violation or not, is there a code that says it's got to be, the alleyways have to be, so wide? I know I recall a code that talked about, space around, getting around a building and those kinds of things. I don't know if we have anything that talks about parking lot width.
Okay. Fred, it looks like you're with us. You have any questions, comments, concerns? Fred?
No, my thought was it's a continuation of exactly what's there now. And I felt pretty good about that because I'm not aware of any problems.
All right. I don't think the issue necessarily is granting what, at least my feel for the rest of the board, granting the variance of what he's asking for. The reason that I had requested the diagram demonstrating again is to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that there would be no issues with other code violations should he move those existing, what we see in the aerial, the existing vehicles, if they would block any access to emergency vehicles. So let me ask Mr. Friedman, I get the sense that the board has enough information to grant the variance, and I hopefully understand our concern is that should the variance be granted, if you move those vehicles, those existing vehicles any more to the north, what I don't know, and it sounds like Adam doesn't know right now without doing research, whether or not there would be a different code violation and you may need a variance, or you have to go back and redo the variance and asking for more room to the south. So I will ask you, would you prefer, well, I guess it's two-part. What's your timetable, and would you prefer this board make a decision today and you keep your fingers crossed that you got it right, or hold this over until the 5th, get those drawings to us so we can make sure that you're not in a bind with a different code violation?
So the next board meeting would be July 5th, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Well, you know what, to make everybody feel good about this, why don't I wait till the 5th? I'd rather be able to demonstrate, and even, but let me ask you a question if I could. If I did want to say, just to make everybody's life easier, I wanted to move up another 4 feet, would I have to reapply through the office for a new variance for the, I'm just thinking, I keep hearing that, I think the spacing is the issue. So, and someone else had said, and I forget who it said, and I apologize, that we're well below the, some of the other dealerships. So we were asking for another 4 to 5 feet, and I'm just throwing out numbers without any diagrams. Would that be an easier route, and then get a diagram to correspond the additional 4 to 5 feet further up that will clearly demonstrate plenty of room for safety vehicles or anything else to pass through?
Okay, so my concern is the notice issue. The board in the past has granted variances for something less than what the applicant has asked for. But in this instance, what you're asking for is a little bit more. So I think procedurally, we would have to put out a notice for a change in what you're asking for, to make sure that again, on the procedural end, that the public is fully notified that instead of asking for 2 to 6 feet, you might be asking for 10 or 12. I don't exactly know, but let's just call it 10, for example. I think there would need to be a notice. And as far as I understand, there wouldn't be an additional charge. It just would have to be an additional notice or you want to change the request for a variance.
You know what? As much as I want to get it done, I want to get it done right. So I think that's probably the safer bet, is because I don't want to do what we're talking about and, like you said, have someone else come out and say that's not, and have to pull cars back and start the whole process. I'd rather know going in that I'm 100% compliant. So can we do that? I mean, I can come back and fill out any necessary paperwork to reapply and then get back on your guys' calendar. But I think that would be the best bet for Auction Direct and for the board.
Okay, so then what I suggest you're doing, you got a little more homework, is one is get that diagram demonstrating what that parking looks like. And I guess what I would have to put it on you, if you think that instead of asking for 2 to 6 feet, if you think 10 feet would give you more latitude, then I think you need to, pick that number. If it's 12 feet, you pick the number, come into town hall and touch base with Amber. Are you going to be around? I think what he needs to do is amend his application to change the request to set it 2 to 6 feet. He needs to pick something a little greater and then put, who's said Susie or Amber? Who just said something?
It was me.
Okay.
I'll be around, so he's more than welcome to stop in.
Yeah, so to make an amendment to the application and find the number that he feels more comfortable with, and it's certainly up to you. If you think 10 feet would work or 12 feet, something to give you enough room so that this issue of getting those emergency vehicles enough space. And I think what I also hear you're saying is that if you do ask for more and it starts encroaching on the current landscaping area, you would either move it or replant, or you do something to recreate that. Is that right?
Absolutely. You can count how many trees and bushes are out there now, and the same amount will be out there in some form or
Yeah.
fashion.
So, does that make sense? Do you have any questions about what we're asking you to do?
No, not at all. And I will stop by to see Amber on Thursday and take tomorrow to get I want to come in with a real measurement, a real ask, and I'll stop by Thursday and amend the ask, and look forward to talking to you all next time I'm on your calendar.
All right, let me just make sure everyone's on the same page with it. Matt, does this sound good? Sound like a plan?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, Donna, sound good to you?
Fine, thank you.
Sarah, sound good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fred, you good with that? Fred?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, good. All right, I think it sounds like a plan. So this way we're going to do this as efficiently as we can and get it done right. All right.
Thank you very
Very
much.
good.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thanks for your patience. You're welcome. We will see you. I guess we're Susie. We're going to be live on the 5th.
Yes, in person.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Friedman.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Adam, I got a question for you. Our friend on Dryer Road with all the tents, they're still there.
He's so he has permit applications in for all of them. He's working right now to level out the land up behind his home to get them moved. He's moved 2 of them. He has 2 more to go. But he's doing the work himself and it's a little slow, but his permits aren't expired, so he technically has the time to do it. Yep.
As long as he's not ignoring us, he's moving forward with the project. That's
Nope.
okay. Good.
Yep.
Good. All right. Anyone else have anything else? Questions, comments for anyone?
Good.
No?
All right. Sounds like we're all good. All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.